Tonight we're going to be moving on with our leadership development course. We're going to be moving on to the next lesson, which is the introduction to marketing. And we'll look at this in a couple of different ways. Obviously, when we talk about marketing, everybody thinks business and they think about selling things. We're here, and leadership and marketing become key components that have to work together. Okay? Remember when we went back, if you remember the last unit that we did, right at the beginning of the last unit, we talked about the fact that in leadership, one of the fundamental components and one of the fundamental things that we were trying to do was not just cast vision, but to get enough people actually engaged in the vision that they want to go along on the journey with you. Well, this is where we start to aspect of how we market our vision and things like that. And that's why looking at leadership development, introduction to marketing becomes important. As we do that, we're going to look through marketing. We're going to look at Quinn's competing values framework briefly. I'll explain why I'm going to jump into that framework as we go through. We're going to look at, originally they were known as the 4 Ps. There's an extra 2 that we've got thrown in, so you get 4 plus 2 Ps. Okay, that's 6 for the mathematically minded amongst you. We're going to look at some marketing methods. We're also going to look at, within those marketing methods, we're going to look through network, print marketing, internet marketing, social media. We're going to look at content marketing, and we're going to look at some low-cost marketing options that are available to anybody to be using. Okay? Marketing. It's the activity, a set of institutions or processes for creating, communicating, delivering, and exchanging offerings that have value for customers, clients, partners, and society at large. When we begin to think of marketing in those terms, we begin to move beyond the concept that people have of, I'm going to sell a product to make money. Yeah? When you're a leader, you need to market your ideas. I believe, and most leaders would believe this, that if you're a leader who has an idea that they consider valuable to people, marketing it and engaging it to make sure that more people can engage with that idea is an important thing. A lot of people, and when we look at the fivefold ministry, we look at evangelism and the concept of evangelistic activities, they're about promoting and marketing, if you like, Jesus. Yeah? It's that concept of getting somebody and helping people understand what this wonderful thing of value that we have is and carrying that to the world. Yeah? Yes, we don't tend to talk about it in the same terms, but effectively that's where the parallels come. So what's done in the business world is not actually dissimilar to what we do in the church world. We just tend to have different words that we use to refer to it. So when we talk about marketing here, there is a lot that we can learn from modern day marketing and things which are of use to be applied in ministry and in many different areas. Okay? Now I'm going to show you this as a framework. I'd never seen this framework until recently. I was actually at a church conference on engaging and changing culture in churches. And one of the ladies that was speaking brought up this model. And I actually asked the question because I work in the marketplace. For me, it's quite easy, but I was surrounded by pastors on the day and I wanted to engage and challenge the discussion. So I asked the question, in this model, and within the model, you've got the 4 aspects. And from either end of the continuum, you've either got the internally focused aspects or the externally focused. And you've got the more kind of controlled, stable, well-managed versus the kind of free and easy, yeah? If you see in the top left, they refer to the clan aspect. That's more like the familial, the family style, you know, where people kind of look after their family, but there's no real strict rules about it. It's kind of loose and free and able to move and flex, yeah? The hierarchy component, when we look in the bottom corner, relates to more structured internal focus. Yeah, so very structured internal processes and things. The adhocracy, as they call it, is where you've got something that's externally focused, but it's fairly flexible and kind of goes with the flow and moves all over the place. When we talk in terms of the market segment, that's when we're looking at a space which is externally focused, but we've actually got a bit of a plan and structure as to how we're engaging in that space. We've got a bit of a plan and a structure as to who our target market, for example, are. Who are the people that we're going to try and connect with and engage with? And usually, in my experience anyway, with any particular ministry, you've got people that you think will resonate with the message that you're trying to put forward, and they'll be the people that you'll try and engage with in that terms. For example, one of the business ministries I engage with, we engage with business people. Okay? That's our focus. That's who we're trying to engage with. Those are the people that we feel that we have something of value for. And sometimes people see, and this is why this is called the competing values framework, because it's not that market and clan are wrong, it's just that you'll find that there'll be a tension between them. Now, in the church, typically, we are a family. That's how it's described. The church is the family of God. We come and we are part of that family. And so this competing value of actually going to market and trying to impact and get to people can sometimes be conflicting for some people in what the whole aspect of church and these things are around. Yeah? But in asking the question, this lady who runs a large consultancy business and has been active, was actually active in working for YWAM for many years. And she answered quite honestly. She said, in every ministry, in every church, in YWAM and all, we've always had a market that we have been aiming at. There's been a group of people to which we think the value that we bring most closely relates to, and they're the people that we most try and carry the message for. Yes, there'll always be other people that we don't normally suspect would like to that will benefit, but you've got to go in a particular direction. It's a way of having focus. So, when we talk and understand that a market is a relevant thing to bring into a ministry sphere or marketing, as it were, learning some of the key concepts that business have been looking at in marketing, we can probably learn and glean some things and see how we can apply these to see if they are relevant in our kind of ministry church environments. Yeah. If you're in business, it's easy because it's just a straight plug and play. The first is the product. Okay, they talk about the 4 P's. So the 4 P's being product, promotion, placement, and price. The product could be any item or service that you offer. Here today, the product or the service on offer is this lecture. Nathaniel has gone through a process of promoting the school, the lectures, in order to engage people that want to learn and want to come and understand more. In some of the ministries, so church, for example, if church is running a Sunday service, the item that they're promoting is the Sunday service. They'll tend to do that by advertising, but talking in different ways, yeah, to talk about these things. So that's where they're talking about that. The promotion, and we're going to look at many methods of promotion a little bit, is how you communicate that your product or service exists and what some of the benefits of someone coming to that product or engaging with that product or service are. Now, placement is all about where you promote. What are the channels? What are the places? If you're going to be advertising and putting posters up, where do you put posters up in order to engage with the audience that you're looking for? Do you put them up in the local supermarket or just on street? These are some of the concepts of placement. But they also move, particularly in our modern day, into what are the areas that you do? Do you do digital marketing? Is it all print marketing? What are the avenues that you promote through? Then we go to price. Okay? Now, whether you decide to charge for a service or give it away freely, that there's still a conscious choice around choosing the price that you're going to go to market with. In church services, it's a free service. But one church will vary from another as to whether the podcasts or the recordings of that service are a payable fee or whatever. It could be if you're running a seminar that you're paying a price to cover the costs of engagement and running the seminar. Again, when it comes to understanding, we need to make a conscious choice about that. The other two P's that have been added on in more recent times relate to people. There is nothing, and I think I've said this in more than enough times as we've gone through the leadership, there is nothing that any of us can do on our own that really adds a lot of value. Yeah, we need other people to build us up, to engage with us, to support us, to become part of a team. In running this school, there is a team of people who do it. You've got a number of different teachers. There's technical people. There's people working behind the scenes, all of which are required in order to make this all happen. Okay? So who are the people involved? Staff, volunteers, customers, the people that you're engaging with. The positioning. So this talks about brand or corporate identity. Now, everybody in the kingdom should be going under one single banner, the banner of Jesus Christ. But within that, there are different brands, whether you're talking about Hillsong, Bethel, or all these are recognized brands, as it were, within those spaces. Okay? Again, in the church, in the kingdom sense, there's also brands in relation to different denominations and things that appear and engage. Now, sometimes people, and I'm not going into the discussion of right or wrong about branding and that's not what we're here for. But for some people, these are helpful because they help them understand what they're going to get when they get there. Yeah? But some people find them a problem. Okay? But positioning is all about deciding how you communicate your brand, your identity. As a leader, and I think this is about leadership development. So as a leader, your product or service may be the gifts, the talent, the ability that God's put in you. The things that make you uniquely ready for the service that God is calling you to. How you promote that, how you engage that, depends on who you speak to. Who do you speak to about the gifts and talent, the calling that God's got in your life? How does anybody else know to engage with you about the gift and the calling that you've got unless you tell somebody about it? Yeah? If you just sit there quietly in the corner, God might grab somebody and say, grab them out of the corner and drag them into do something. But frequently, God's not like that. Yeah? As we talk about God being a gentleman, we've got to be willing to step forward. God's not going to force you, and often isn't like the example where you get thrown out of the nest, although sometimes we need a push. Just ask Jonah. But think about that. Promoting, engaging, sharing what that is that God's laid on your heart is part of that promotion. This doesn't all have to be flashing lights and all this other. It's simply when we start thinking about marketing, how do you engage and tell other people what's on your heart? Where do you tell other people what's on your heart? What's the right forum? Initially, as a Christian, one of the first things that I did in ministry was started sharing my testimony. And so I found different places like Perth Prayer and things like that where I shared my testimony, and it opened doors because people began to resonate with who I was, and as a result it opened other doors which opened other doors in ministry. Now I walk straight into gatherings of pastors and I share what's God's put on my heart. So there's different channels through which I do that. Some of that is through social media. Some of that's through going into actual meetings with people. Like this morning. Price. Personally, there's a lot of the stuff that I do in the ministry sense, which I go by the simple adage that freely it was given, freely give. But at the end of the day, the Bible also clearly states that we can quite freely earn money from using our gifting and talents. So at the same time, there's aspects that I'll give away freely, and there's others that I charge very highly for. My wife and children like eating, and so we must all supply. Yeah, these things are all good. Okay, again, you need to understand and decide for yourself in what scenario are you doing which environment. Yeah, people. Well, it's easy when I'm just talking about my own gifts, and as you talking about your own gifts as a leader, you're the person, but you have the people who follow you that make you a leader. Okay, so never forget about those. Think about the people who could benefit from what you have to offer. Positioning. This is really your personal, how are you perceived? Who are you? So when we translate it into a leadership aspect, these things are things that are worth understanding and knowing about. So, marketing methods, and we're going to look through some of these marketing methods. We're going to talk about direct marketing, networking, print marketing, which are usually the more traditional methods of marketing that have been around for a long time. Okay? Then we're going to look at some of the more modern marketing methods. We're going to talk about digital marketing, and we're going to look at content marketing. Is anybody familiar with these terms? Sort of, yeah. So we start with direct marketing, okay? This is the business of selling products or services directly to the public by mail orders, telephone, rather than through retailers. So door-to-door selling. You used to get the door-to-door salesman go around selling shoes and everything else and all these different types of things. Telemarketing, mail order catalogs. If anyone gets the Courant catalog or anything these are kind of examples of these types of things, okay? Direct marketing is exactly what it says. When people engage you, they're focused, it's all about the sale, they're traditionally seen as quite pushy, but it's into that environment where there's direct sales, it's clear what's going on, and there's a quick exchange over a transaction, and then it moves on, okay? Next, we have networking. Networking is really about promoting and engaging via social engagement with other people. And then, furthermore, utilization of those established networks for referrals and further promotion throughout. Okay? Minister fraternals are some of the ways that they get together and share in those environments. Chambers of commerce, if you're in the business space, there's different associations. The denominational groups gather. That's another way that different ministers and people meet. In this city, those of us who are involved in the marketplace ministry get together on a regular basis and meet up. So that's an opportunity for us to share and engage. The interesting thing when we begin to move to networking, whilst direct marketing, you go in there, you're only one intention. You're there, you meet somebody else in order to sell them something. And so the other person either decides to engage in that transaction or they don't. In networking, the engagement is on a social level. So you're actually building a relationship with other people through which they're beginning to understand who you are. And as a result of understanding and building that relationship, they will decide whether they want to engage your services or whether they think that there's someone else that may want to engage your services that they can introduce you to. So it's very much more social construct, and it's less pushy, and it's more about helping people understand who each other are, and from that, if they can help each other out or they find an opportunity to work or connect together, that's how these things happen. These things happen, as I say, the other day through networks, I was introduced to someone who wants help running a marketplace ministry conference in Perth. And through other networks, I'm connecting with the other speakers that are involved so that we can help shape this conference into something that we think will be successful. That's through different things that are involved in networking. And it all comes through the relationships of passing on information from one person to another to engage. Print marketing. The one thing I did forget to mention was there are a lot of organizations these days who set up, particularly if you're in the marketplace sector, who set up particular networks and encourage people to come together specifically for the point of networking. They teach people, I mean, it always amazes me, there's whole courses teaching people how to network properly, how to engage when you're in a group of people in a way that opens people up to conversation instead of shutting them down. And there is a whole load of science behind how you operate in that space. So if you're interested, go online, look around. There's a couple of places in Perth run specific courses around networking, how to do it. The print marketing, I presume this is one that most people are familiar with. Yeah, you see flyers, you'll see them. Most places still do a lot of print marketing. There is a bit of a tradition that people say, oh no, paper's dead, we're all going to move on. But The reality is, human beings like tangible things. And print marketing, if you do a lot of the research on print marketing, you'll see that there's still a lot of people actually saying print marketing is still one of the best ways of marketing. Yes, it's more expensive. Yes, it has less of a far-ranging reach when we compare with some of the digital media options we're going to look at in a minute. But the tangibility of when somebody has something in their hand, they're forced to make a decision. Yeah? When you pick up a leaflet or whatever, when you pick up the junk mail out of your letterbox or whatever it is, when you have a leaflet in your hand, you're forced to make a decision. You either read it or you discard it. Once you read it, you then make another decision. But the actual fact that you've got something physical in your hand forces you into a place where you're actually thinking about the content in most cases. Okay? And at the end of the day, that's what marketing's about. It's about trying to get ideas and things, opportunities in front of people so that they make a decision whether that's an opportunity they want to engage in or not. You'd be familiar with flyers, posters, business cards, which are frequently used in a number of the different ways, networking. Turn up to networking events without business cards and everybody's like, who on earth are you? Yeah, these things are an expected component. Adverts and publications, still a huge way of selling products and engaging people. So we move over to some of our more modern marketing techniques. We start looking at things like the digital space. Yeah? As it says, it's an umbrella term for the marketing of products or services using digital technologies, mainly on the internet, but also including mobile phones, display advertising, and any other digital medium. So the obvious one in this space is websites. Yeah, websites, if you're a big church or a ministry, any business, everybody will tell you these days you need a website, you must have a website. For a little while, people were saying you don't need it, you can just have a Facebook page. But I would advise against trying to run whatever you're trying to run purely on a Facebook page for one very clear reason. Facebook own the content on Facebook, you don't. So if you want to control and engage something, you're better to have your own website where you can control the content. Yeah? Facebook is a great platform for encouraging discussion around things, but not as a holder of content. Does that make sense? So just be conscious of some of these different things. You may have heard of search engine optimization, which I have heard described as everything from an amazing thing which helps get everybody going in the right direction to target and support, right the way through to its smoke and mirrors, and it's just, there's no sense to it. The truth is, all of your systems like Google, Yahoo, etc., they're all search engines, yeah? They all work on algorithms. Now those algorithms are simply mathematical models which help Google decide what it thinks is most relevant to you based on entry or whatever it's been put in there. However, over time, these algorithms get changed and updated. So anything you do in this space, be aware that it will have to change over time. Don't expect that you do it once and it will work forever and a day, because these things do change. And the big, whether it's Yahoo, Google, or whatever, or YouTube, or any of the others, they don't ask permission to change these algorithms, and they don't tell you that they're going to do it. They just do it. Okay? The same is happening with some of the social media. So a lot of advertising is happening through social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, and things like that. Yeah? And we're going to look at a topic in a minute, which is becoming one of the premium ways which people are using these platforms to advertise. Facebook advertising, be aware, because YouTube is now owned by Google. Okay, so you'll get a lot that way. Now that Facebook have their own Facebook Live, which is their own kind of short videos you can plug and video straight into Facebook, if you're doing searches and you're dropping YouTube videos into Facebook posts and things as part of your marketing effort, they will be picked up almost completely infrequently because Facebook want you to use Facebook Live, not YouTube. Okay? So all of these platforms prefer people using their own platform, if that makes sense. So Google will like YouTube because it owns it. YouTube is actually, interestingly, now the world's biggest search engine, because most people are searching in terms of videos to learn stuff than they are just text and things. When you get into marketing in the digital space, you end up moving into talking about Google AdWords and all these types of things, how you can use specific words to trigger different adverts and all these different types of things. It is an incredible kind of amazing space that you can move into that figures out how do you get your message across in the clearest way possible. The connections that you can do by tracking interactions between social media and websites these days, by using little bits of programming that track who's going to your website, which parts of the website are they going to. Google Analytics has got a whole frame. It used to be about $5,000 to engage with the original template that's set up. Google bought the company and now give it away free, so you can analyze your website and see where people are going, what they're clicking on, how frequently they come, how many people come there, where they come from, where they're using a mobile phone. If they were using a mobile phone, were they using an iPhone or were they using an Android device? I mean, the amount of detail that is out there is phenomenal. And I mean, you can get, if you're a geek like me and you like stats, you can get lost for hours and you can figure out all these things, but you can just get generally lost. LinkedIn is seen as business to business predominantly, is kind of space. But there are a lot more people in ministry using LinkedIn as a platform to promote their ministries and things and engage and build personal profile around who they are. Remember, as leaders, what we're effectively selling is what God's put in us. Yeah? We've got a message, we've got a vision, we've got something we're wanting to carry forward. These are all platforms that are all very useful. But in using any of these platforms, understand what they're good at and what they're not good at. Because all these platforms have pluses and minuses, yeah? There's a number of different platforms. In social media, you can go on, there's Google+, there's all these others, and we looked at social media during the last unit, so I'm not going to go over that. But all of these things have great value to them. You can get lost for hours. So what I recommend when you're getting into this, when you're early on, get something that works and is simple for you, and then over time build on it. Don't try and get to the nth dimension in day one, because it won't happen. Content marketing. Has anybody heard of content marketing? Yeah. So this is becoming, when you do any search on marketing these days, there's a lot of people saying this is where marketing's at. If you've got, particularly if you're into something where you think that what you're carrying is a message of value, there's a lot of people talking about content marketing, and it's basically a very strategic approach, as it says there, which is about creating and distributing value, relevant and consistent content to attract and retain a clearly identified audience, okay? Ultimately, most people through content marketing are trying to drive a profitable response from the customer, but it's not always the case. So blogs are becoming increasingly popular. Yeah, through blogs, some people are bringing advertising in around their blogs, which helps them pay for them. You'll see different reports that are offered free online. You know, download this free report and you get a load of information from somebody. That's content marketing. That's where they're giving something away for free. Now, it's interesting because I was having a conversation. One of the people that has been teaching me about marketing, because it was one of the areas in running business that I've had to learn about, one of the things that they were talking about was, in these types of things, if you're putting stuff up, what you want to do is you want to give away the why and the what, and you want to sell the how. That was part of it. But an interesting conversation that I had with a gentleman yesterday, and he said, look online. You now have people that are giving away the what, the why, and the how, And the interesting thing is in just telling, freely giving away information, people are recognizing, because in content marketing, it's all about what you have authored. Yeah, it's like why people create books, because it gives them authority. You're seen as an authority if you've authored something. And content marketing is about helping people understand what you're an authority in, what it is that you carry. If you believe you carry a message and a gifting, if you can put that into blogs or reports, if you could deliver free seminars, invite people in, let them hear what you've got to say and share with them, invite them into opportunities. These are what you call content marketing opportunities, where you're giving away stuff for free that helps people in return see how much value you have to offer. And as a result, be more inclined to engage with the ideas and the things that you're promoting. Okay? So those, I mean, that's been quite quickly moved through some different aspects of marketing. Again, all of these have got value to them. Yeah? There are different people who respond better to slight types of marketing than others. Facebook advertising really isn't going to do it for people who never engage with social media. Yeah? Likewise, some of the younger generation don't really care for flyers and things because they don't want to carry bits of paper and stuff around. They just want to get something that flashes up on their screen. Yeah? So you need to understand who you're marketing to and what's the best way of marketing to that audience. If you don't know who you're marketing to, there's some amazing stuff that can be done online now that will help you figure out who those audiences are, where they are. I know within Facebook advertising, for example, you can actually put in criteria which will only market Facebook ads to particular age groups in physical geographic locations with certain interests. I mean, it is phenomenal, some of the things that you can do. But let's just look through some items, which are some options for low-cost marketing. Marketing doesn't have to be hugely expensive. There are ways of promoting and engaging and spreading your message without spending a fortune. The first couple actually, the first one goes on the assumption that you have a website or a Facebook page which you're operating from, okay? But basically what it's saying is engaging with other people in the environment that you're in or in others who recognize the value in your service to the point where they're willing to promote it on their media to their people. Because this is the other part of content marketing, is adding value to the people who, as leaders, are following us or engaging with the content that we're providing. And saying, look, I can provide you this much content which is really useful, but I think you'd find this useful as well. Okay? That's where you start to engage and add further value to people and recognize, hey, I'm not the only answer. There are lots of other people who have something of value to share. You could host webinars. Again, webinars are a great way, content marketing, sharing what you know. The software these days for hosting webinars is fantastic. You could be sitting there in your pajamas and nobody else would ever know. You could be sitting there quite happily. You can present what you have to present. You can do it online from the comfort of your own home. Usually the bandwidth doesn't have to be super amazing. You can do it with some really good, but they're a good way of sharing a simple presentation, sharing what you've got as a way of engaging people. You can do cross-promotion. Okay, so you can be promoting for other people and in turn allowing them to promote for you and sharing information and helping each other succeed. You can go out commenting on blogs. There's an interesting thing that happens, and there's a number of people, so you get different types of people online. You get a lot of people who go out and read everything, but don't actually engage and leave comments and interact at all. Okay? But there's when you start interacting and leaving, you begin to leave a kind of footprint, which gathers up over time and gets recognized as commenter and someone who interacts through the online. The other thing is if you're on Facebook or something like that, every time you comment, your whole logo and everything is out there. So again, you become represented in a number of different places. Helping a reporter is another way. right? So this is an interesting way. A lot of reporters are out there constantly looking for good stories, information, things like that that are of relevance. If you find a news publication that actually corresponds with what you're trying to promote and educate and the opportunities, a lot of these reporters, if you put together something that makes a feasible kind of story and present it to them and engage with them, they're more than willing to kind of flesh it out and turn it into something useful, because that's what they're doing day to day, is trying to find stuff to fill column inches effectively. Build a Google Plus presence. So Google Plus, obviously being related to Google, Google Plus is not one of the most highly used social media platforms, but because of its relationship to Google, if you're highly profiled on Google Plus, it will be one of the things that will tick a box for Google and bring you to the surface more easily if people are searching in that space, which is always handy to know. Okay? Network personally. To me, this is always one of the phenomenal ones that's really important. In fact, to this day, I've predominantly built my company through personal connections with different people. Yes, I use some of these other means. I've got websites and Facebook and things like that. But in my instance, I've got more out of my personal networks than I have others. So network personally, go out, meet people, talk to them. Remember, when you're actually networking, you're not there to sell something, you're there to build a relationship with people. If through that relationship you find out that you've actually got something this person wants or this person knows something, brilliant. You can offer what that is you're carrying, yeah? But the opportunity within this networking is actually to build relationships with people. Run competitions. If that's suitable for you, you can run competitions. I know at one of the churches, what we used to do, we used to run a big celebration and Easter egg hunts and things like that for the kids, which brought a lot of families together, which was a great opportunity to engage with families in an environment that we didn't normally have. Building referral programs. Is anybody familiar with referral programs? Whereby you help people, that if they help people come along, you give them something in return. If you're hosting kind of seminars, webinars, you may be giving away free tickets or whatever else. There's a number of different things you can do in that cell. Upsell existing contacts. So use the network that you've got, the contacts that you've got, and promote other events to them. Yeah, use the contacts that you've got. Increase your content marketing. Be generous with what you've got and what you carry. One of the most generous people online basically gives everything he possibly could train away for free if you want to go and read through and watch all these different videos. And he still has people turning up to his courses in droves. There's an interesting thing that comes out, and this was another part of the conversation yesterday, was the fact that in content marketing, when you're giving stuff away for free, a lot of people are going, oh, but what if they just take my stuff and they go away and use it and they never come back to me and actually use my services or whatever? But the truth is that only 20% of people will ever actually do that. Yeah? You familiar with the Pareto principle? Yeah? 80% of people will never use most of the stuff they're given. It's a sad fact, but it's a reality. Those 80% of the people will be the ones that will come back time and time again. The other side of it is, if people really get a lot out of what you offer and you share, they may come back again and again. There's a thing about what happens to us when we learn and we engage and we take information in. Our brains, if they don't hear it repeatedly, will over time forget it. Unless we take the time to embed it, we do make the effort to engage and act upon what we're taught, we won't remember it, we won't change, we won't do anything different. So actually hearing something again and again and again is actually a benefit to us and a more value. And then of course there's blogging and guest blogging. Yeah, this goes back to the content marketing to some degree, but being out there, sharing your ideas, sharing what's going through your head, okay? Helping people understand what it is that you have of offer, of value that they can be accessing. Now, That brings us to the end of our introduction to marketing. But I hope it gives you a kind of bit of an idea of, again, marketing is another one of these huge subjects which people study master's degrees and everything else on. We haven't delved into the whole statistics behind marketing, but there are two of the major fields that statistics are used in. There's the medical industry and in marketing, and understanding trends and what people do. And there's so much that goes on in that space. But yeah, I will give you the opportunity for a break, and then we will look at an introduction to management.